This time I got a Pioneer SA9500 Mark II. This one's got no sound. When you turn it on, absolutely nothing happens. Not even the speaker relay will kick in. Let's check it out. This time my Pioneer SA9500 Mark II. This one appears to be totally dead. No power indicator, no indication on my dim bulb tester that anything's happening. This one looks like it's completely dead. So let's pull this one apart. This is a dual mono design. It has two separate power supplies, two separate amplifiers. So, two mono blocks is what this one is. The only thing that's shared between the two of them is the preamp. Preamp shares a common. I think it probably shares a common. It might be off each transformer, like a preamp driven off each transformer, but they share a common board. When I powered it up there momentarily, I saw my dim bulb momentarily light up as capacitors are charging, so we know the unit is getting power, but I have no indicator light on the front here indicating that there's any power, and it's not coming out of protection. So we'll just check some voltages, see whether we've got any DC voltages on the power supply in the preamp circuit. We'll check fuses and so forth. But what do we got here? We got 0. These are AC. If we check the power modules, we'll see that we have negative 51 and positive 50 volts on both sides, so we know that the power supplies are working. We'll pull the bottom off so we can take a look at some of the regulators. The fact that this has a bunch of different screws in the bottom, like none of them match, is a pretty good indicator that somebody's been into this unit before and they've probably given up on it. Anytime I see stuff like this where there's just mix and match screws that have been stuck in the bottom, I gotta think that someone has spent a lot of time on this and gave up on it and lost half the screws and just started looking for anything that they could put in the bottom so they could give it back to whoever owned it at the time. So never know what to expect. I know that some of the input jacks on the back are broken. Screws are missing in the back panel. The main out and pre-in, for example, they are it's broken right off the back of the unit. But to say, anytime I start seeing stuff like this, I get nervous when I see things like that. That looks like someone's just replaced the light bulb. They just... that goes to the light bulb for the power light. They just taped it on the wires and spliced them together. You see what I mean? Screws are missing here. There's a screw missing here. There's a screw missing here on this one. So let's just throw the scope onto the straps here between the pre-out and the main in. I've got the volume set to minimum, and I have a really nasty signal there. What is that? Like, there's no audio there, that's just noise. If I turn up the volume, you can see that there's music there. But what is that really nasty pulse that's there? We have probably a regulation problem on this unit, because it's on both the left and the right channel. There's one channel, there's the other. And it's different between the two. Look at this one here. It's like, there's the pulse off of the right channel, and there's what's off the left channel. I already know what the problem is, by the way. And again, so is that is that feeding back from the power amp stage, or is that actually the preamp? We can determine that by just unplugging these straps. And we can take a look and see whether that noise is actually coming from the preamp or whether that noise is coming back from the power amp stage. And as we see, I'm clipped onto the pre-out stage and that noise is there. Also, I hear humming. I hear a humming sound coming out of the unit when it's turned on. I don't know if the mic will pick it up or not, but I hear a humming sound start up. There you hear a humming. Zzz. I turn off the power. The hum goes away. Pretty sure this is the preamp output right here. That is the preamp output for both channels, left and right. If I fire up, see? So the noise is here on the preamp board. So let's just check regulators. There'll be regulators on here. I'm sure we got a bad regulator or bad caps. Could be bad caps too in the preamp stage. Let's just check some voltages on the regulators here. Minus 44, minus 34, minus 30, plus 44, minus 34. Okay, those appear to be working. I see someone's been soldering something down here on this part of the board. They've also been working over here around this capacitor to get the wiring on here. Right. The filters, I suspect they're probably bad, are these primary filters up here in the preamp. If we put our meter across it in AC voltage mode, we'll see that there's 17 volts AC, 21 volts AC, 21 volts AC. These shouldn't be any AC here. These are DC rectifiers. I think these 4 caps have gone bad right here. And that's what's causing that severe distortion and keeping the unit from turning on. As you can see, they discharged immediately, like there's nothing on them. So let's just start by pulling a couple of these caps out and measuring them, measuring the ESR. I bet you these 4 are bad. These are big filters right here. These are these ones right. Maybe you guys can't see them, but there's 4 of them right here under the chassis. These ones, these are the 4 I suspect are probably causing my problem. All right, first one's out. It's 330 microfarad at 80 volts. Let's just check how many microfarads this capacitor is. I bet it's open. I'm not even going to check the ESR. I'm going to check the capacity value. That looks like 0.3, doesn't it? That looks really bad. Although I should just check my meter, because I thought I saw the battery indicator on. Maybe not. I thought I saw the battery indicator telling me that my battery is getting weak, but maybe not. But yeah, 0.3. This cap is shot. All 4 of these are going to be bad. These are primary filters, and with all that noise that was coming through those regulators, it's got to be those. It's just probably just the 4 of them. I'm sure there's more than 4, but 4 for sure that are keeping this unit from running. Battery is getting weak on my ESR tester. Great. I'll have to get a new battery for that too. But as you can see, they're open completely. ESR tester will still work. That's right, I've zeroed it out. So it is still working, it's just that the battery is getting weak. I'm going to have to get some new batteries. This one's open for sure. All 4 of these are going to be bad, guaranteed. And that is what this amplifier is going to need, is 4 new capacitors. 80 volts, 330 microfarads is what these ones are rated. I think all 4 of them are the same. Just double check here. But I'm sure that's all I need on this one. There's probably other ones that are also could do replacement, but these ones for sure. I don't know if they're all the same size either. Some of them might be smaller than others. I think there's two 330s and 2 others that are. There's 2 330s and 2 other ones. I'm just going to pull all 4 of them. They got to come out, so let's just get the 4 of them out of the board, and then we'll get some new caps and take it from there. Now you might be wondering why I went right to these caps. Well, it's because I've seen this problem before many times. This is nothing new. This is not something that's new to me. Two of them are 220 at 63, and the other 2 are 330 at 80. But if we look on these ones here again, right? Oh, 0.4. Ooh. Oh, that one's a whopping 2 microfarads. So 4 caps for sure are needed to get this one operational. I'll have to see what I've got. I'm pretty sure I don't have anything anywhere close to this. I'm going to check my stock of caps, but I'm pretty sure I don't have. I might have some 220s at 63, but I know I don't have any 330s at 80 for sure. I don't think. I'll check. Well, you know, I have a couple of 220 at 63 volts, and I've got. Yeah, the other ones I don't have. I don't have 330s, but I do have 820s at 80 volts. So more than enough capacity there for voltage-wise. And it's in the preamp, so going to a larger capacitor will actually be better, give us more filtering capability. So we'll throw these ones in. We look at the meter this time. This is the good cap. All right. 896 microfarads. Here's one of the dead ones. And this one here is sitting down at 1.7. Yeah. That's one of the things I like about this Fluke 12 is it has capacitor meter on it as well. So it can measure capacitance. And ESR is only half the story, because ESR, of course, sometimes can measure okay if the capacitor is shorting internally, for example, but the capacity will be 0. So anyway, 4 dead caps. I've got 2 used ones that I pulled out of a TV that had a broken screen, so these ones are fine. And they're rated at 105 degrees as opposed to, I think these ones were 85, so yeah, these were 85, but I mean, just the weight of them. This one's so much lighter than this one, right? Because they're dried out. Okay, let's get the new parts in, and we'll see if this thing turns on. I'm guessing it probably will. So first we'll clear out the holes so that I can get the new parts in easily. The 2 larger ones were the ones in the center. Those are the primary filters, and then these other ones are after the regulator transistors. The smaller ones, the 220s, are on the outside, and the 330s, which I'm putting in these monsters. I mean, I could go and get a couple of 330 80 volt caps. I could make a trip in to pick them up, but at what the cost of gas is today, I use as an excuse, even though I drive an electric car. yeah, it costs less to run for sure. Electricity is much cheaper than gas, but it's still not free. So, and it's the time to drive into the big city to pick up 2 components. It's a big waste of my time when I've got some sitting here that I can utilize. So whenever I've got some, I'll always try to use what I have on stock. Okay, let me get this. I'm going to get the board, get them put into the board first, and then we'll resolder them down in a sec here. I don't know if you guys can see what I'm doing because it's hard enough for me to see what I'm doing. And now, just to trigger my fans, the scissors, because I know that someone is going to speak up about this. Because every time I bring out the Klein snips, some clown out there has to make a comment about using snips versus, say, they'll say, "Why don't you use a pair of wire clippers?" Because I don't want to. How's that sound? Sounds perfectly acceptable to me. Okay, let's hook up the scope. We'll hook it up and check the signal off of the preamp and see if it's clean. Okay. Where is my output? I don't see any output here. Oh, I'm going to have to increase my sensitivity there. There we go. Now we got output. And no noise. Let's I heard a relay click there too. Let's plug the main outs back into the pre-outs back into the main ends here. I'm gonna have to fix this too. This is also kind of shot. I gotta find a screw to put in here or glue it or something to hold this in place. But for now, let's just try this and see whether we get sound. It's really that simple. I mean, that's all that's wrong with this amplifier, other than the fact that somebody buggered up the inputs and stuff, and someone's took the little caps out of the switches. So the guy that owns this has a couple of spare caps he wants me to put back in behind these switches, the little covers. And that's about all. I'm not even going to bother to change the light bulb, as I don't have one. And if he wants that, I guess I'll have to get a bulb. Probably wants the bulb replaced, but I don't have a bulb. Anyway, this one's now operational, as you can hear. Don't need to change any of the other caps. That volume control is kind of... Clean those controls, I guess. But this one's not working, so let's get finishing this one up. I've still got a bit of work to do on this. I got to get some cleaner into that control down here. So the balance control is this one. Where is it? It's right here. It's right down here. So I'm going to get some cleaner into that, and that should solve that noise on that one. So let's do that. we go. It's really slow at turning on, primarily because I've got it going through my dim bulb tester still. So voltage is limited, or current is limited. You watch, if I point the camera at the dim bulb, watch what it does. So when there's nothing really playing or music is soft, there's not much there. As I increase the volume, you'll see the bulb will start to get brighter. And of course, I put the amp into shutdown because it ran low on power. But we know it's working, so I can flip it on. There, now we're on full power. So this one's working, so now we're going to pull the front faceplate off and install these little switch caps, and then I'm going to see what I can do to fix up the pre-out plugs on the back, put a screw in there or something and try to glue it in place because that's kind of broken. Anyway, front cover's got to come off, got to pull the knobs off, got to pull the faceplate off to try to get those covers back on. Anyway, the dim bulb tester, that is something that everybody needs. There's two pieces of equipment that you need on your test bench. Three pieces of equipment you need on your test bench. First, you need an isolation transformer with isolated ground. That is first and foremost for safety. That's the first thing. I can't show you mine because it's under the bench, but everything that I run is on the isolation transformer. Second thing, of course, you need is a variac so that you can vary the voltage. And the third thing that every test bench should have, you need a dim bulb tester using a good old incandescent bulb. I know they're getting hard to get. You can still get them in Canada. 100 watt bulb will give you about 0.8 amps of current. It's going to limit it to 0.8 amps. So the reason we use these is if there is a fault, we don't want that fault to progress any further. So by using a dim bulb, or an incandescent bulb in this case, and running in series, I've showed how I built this. This will certainly eliminate any problems or creating more problems down in the whatever you're working on if it's drawing excessive current. You will know immediately. And it will limit the amount of current. At 120 volts, a 100 watt bulb will limit you to about 0.8 amps. If you want more current, I could put a second bulb in parallel with a second switch. And I just put a switch on there so that I can operate in full power. Full power just bypasses the lamp, so that full power is going to the outlet. And in the limited mode, I always start in limited mode, and that way if there's a fault, it's going to be apparent. The light is going to glow brightly. And it also, when you're dealing with large amplifiers like I've got, everything's going through my variac. My variac itself has, I think, a 3 amp fuse. So many big amplifiers will draw more than 3 amps when you turn them on. This one itself wouldn't. But some of the great big ones, they could draw excessive. Well, I've had some that have actually tripped the mains breaker when they're charging up the capacitors. The inrush current is so high. By having a dim bulb tester in series, or lamp in series, it allows a soft start. And I know guys that just have this just for protection. They don't have a test bench. They've got it on their stereo. They've got their stereo plugged in just like this with a current limiter and a switch. And when they first turn their big amplifiers on, they turn them all on, going through the current limiter. The light bulb will light up real bright initially, and then it'll go down to a dim glow, and then as soon as it's down to that dim glow, they throw the switch and give it full power. I know guys that do that with their systems just to protect their systems when they're starting them up every time they turn them on, because Especially if capacitors have been sitting for a while and they've been totally discharged, these appear like a dead short when you first turn on power until they charge up. Huge amounts of current flow into them. And starting things up cold is a good way to cause parts to pop. So there's a few guys I know that are into high-end stereo stuff. They actually use, one guy actually uses a Variac, and he starts it out and he brings it up slowly because he's even more careful with his equipment. But anyway, can't hurt. It's only going to protect. So I got to take the front panel off. And I think it's held in place. Is it held by screws? I don't even know how this panel's held on this. I guess there's a couple screws on the side. And that should... Usually there's just a couple screws down the top that hold the panel in place, but this one here appears to be attached a little differently. There must be some nuts in behind the knobs that hold the panel on this one. Yeah, okay. They got nuts in behind some of the knobs here that hold the front panel on that I have to take off in order to remove the front faceplate and put these inserts in behind the switches, because the last person that was into this unit didn't put them in. Oh great, that knob broke. I have to glue that one back, I guess. Okay, so, and then there's this big knob that's held in place by a couple of screws. I don't think this one has to come off. This is a separate, it's got a separate backing. So I should be able to just undo these nuts and the front faceplate should come off. I may be picking myself up a half-liter DH200. I don't have it in my possession yet, but I'm looking at one right now that is up for sale. I don't know at this point whether I'm going to buy it or not, because the guy tells me that the fuse holder is missing. One of the fuse holders is missing on the back, and that, to me, that's a red flag that there could be more than just the fuse holder missing. It could be hiding a problem that exists that the person that's selling it doesn't want the buyer to know about. So I've kind of put the question to him saying, are you sure it's just the fuse holder that's missing, or is there a problem with the amplifier? Because I don't know that I want to pay a lot of money for, not that it's a huge amount, but it's still a little bit of money, and I don't know that I want to pay a lot of money for, or even a little bit of money for something that is unknown. It's questionable. But it's come up as a preamp and a power amp, a DH200, and it's preamp. So I'm thinking maybe I might add one of those to my collection. That'd be a nice little unit to have, I think. Again, if the price is right, as they say. If I can come up with an agreeable price. Okay, front cover goes back on, and then it's just held in place by these nuts that hold on the controls. That's how this is attached. I'm expected to fix the input jack on the back here, not the input jack, the pre-out power amp in jack on the back, but the problem is somebody snapped it off. Like, there's nothing to screw it down to. It's completely broken on both sides. Both the mountings are broken, as is this one up here. But all I can do is to try to glue it in place. I'm going to mix up some epoxy, and we're going to put some epoxy in behind here, and that's about all I can do to try to keep this in place, because unfortunately it's broken. So not much left I can do other than just to try to cement it back in place with some JB weld. I'm not going to bother changing the power light, the pilot lamp, because I don't have one. It's an 8-volt bulb that was originally in there. I don't have an 8-volt bulb, and I'd have to order one in. And then I got the cost of the bulb and the cost of the shipping, because the local places don't stock them. So if the guy wants to have the light bulb replaced, it'll probably cost him $30 to get the bulb shipped out. Just saying. So I think you'll have to do without the little pilot light. Looks like the previous owner of this got a little bit crazy with his engraving pen. He's got his driver's license number engraved on the back, and engraved on the top, and engraved on the bezel on the front. It's like, what does he think? Someone's going to steal this thing and part it out? Sometimes I think people went a little bit crazy with those engraving pens, right? Remember those things? Sound like a loud buzzer, and they had like a tungsten carbide tip, and you could write on things and it would engrave. That was the big craze. Before that, it was invisible ink. Remember that neighborhood watch? This item marked with invisible ink that the police can detect if it's stolen. Like as if people steal stereos. I guess in some places they do, but the only person I ever know that had his stereo stolen, and he's an old friend of mine, he's probably watching this, probably be laughing now to send me a message on Facebook, was had a buddy that was he was a mobile DJ, and he worked for Environment Canada, and anyway, he was working out of town for a few months up at a weather observation station, and his I think it was when he was away, he went up for like 3 or 6 months or something. Anyway, he was married to this horrible person, and he came back, and his truck was he parked his truck in his garage with all of his DJ equipment in it, like everything: lights, amplifiers, speakers, mixers. Had a van that he just used for transporting his equipment. He used to do weddings and stuff, right? And anyway, it was inside a locked garage and inside a truck. And the only way that the equipment could be taken out of the truck was, well, you couldn't. It was backed into his garage in such a way that you could not open the doors with the vehicle in the garage. You used to park it right up against the wall, so there was no way you could open the back doors or the side door without moving the vehicle out. And then it was kept in a locked garage. And I guess when he was away for a while, and away out of town working, and he got back, and it was, we had a break-in while you were gone. All your equipment was stolen. That's the only person I know that ever had stereo equipment stolen, is that. I'm sure it happens, but it really doesn't happen all that often that somebody will steal your TV or your stereo equipment. They're looking for, when someone breaks in, they're generally looking for something that they can get away with quickly, that they can sell for, quick cash, jewelry, money, that type of stuff. They're not going to steal your vinyl collection. They're not going to steal your turntable or take your TV off your wall, as a rule. I'm not saying it doesn't ever happen, but the chances of someone taking your stereo apart and stealing your equipment are pretty slim. They might break into a stereo store and steal new equipment, but to break into someone's house and spend that kind of time in the house where they can take stuff apart and steal equipment, no. They're looking for things that they can get quickly, like cameras and stuff like that. Something that they can grab and get out of there quickly. Not take your stereo apart. But the prior days to the engraving was it had these marking pens which would mark, a felt tip pen that would mark with a fluorescent invisible ink, and you turn on a black light and you could see it. Anyway, going back to when I was a teenager, I had one of these invisible ink pens, and also I had a black light. You know where I'm going with this. Some of my friends thought it was kind of funny to draw pictures on the wall and stuff, and doodle on my walls in invisible ink. And then one day I turned on the black light, and I got a surprise. There was all kinds of messages on the wall that my crazy friends had been doodling around on the wall for probably weeks, and I hadn't noticed it because I hadn't turned on the black light. And then, to say, one night we were having a party, and I figured I'd turn on the black light, and this was all over my living room. This was all over like my family room at the time. But anyway, we got a good laugh out of it. All the messages that had been written in invisible ink and I didn't know were there. And there they were, glowing in all their glory, in nice bright blue, lettering and pictures. I'll let you use your imagination as to what pictures were put on the wall. But we got a good laugh out of it. Anyway, I'm just letting the epoxy setup here. It's about as good as I'm going to be able to make this, and I can't make it perfect, but at least the plugs on the back will be not so loose, and hopefully someone won't want to put a equalizer on there, because this would have to be replaced. And again, where to get something like this for a unit this age? Good question, right? Don't know. Time to put this one back together, complete with all the different types of screws that were in the bottom of it. To say, this is a good indication that somebody has been into this unit before. Well, we know that because someone tried changing the light bulb before, and they probably put in the wrong voltage, and that's why the bulb burned out. I bet a 12 volt bulb is more in order, but again, I don't have those either, so it's gonna have to stay as it is for now. I don't think that's a critical concern anyway. Even when I was in the business, we were fixing stereos like this. I don't remember how many pilot lights I changed. Display lamps, like dial lamps on the receiver, that was a little different. We used to change the dial lamps when they were burned out, but power lamps, hardly ever. Generally because people didn't want to pay extra. When they said, "Oh, can you change the dial lamp?" "Well, yeah, it'll be a little bit more." "Oh, don't bother." Or it'll be like, "How much to change the bulb?" You tell someone, "Well, it's the cost of the bulb, it's the extra time, and you're looking at another 20 or 30 bucks. Oh, forget it." That was generally what people said when it came to the light bulbs. Time for the top cover and final test. All right, there it is. Alright, this one's all done. Other than the pilot light that I haven't replaced, everything else is functional as far as I can see. So thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.